Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. There's been significant movement in our lives in terms of censorship and things that we've experienced as truthers, and the Biden administration and social media giants like YouTube and Google, and eventually all the rest of them, because of the RFK's running for president. Things that I talked about and said that this is what's going to happen. The Democratic Party completely imploding. We're being exposed. I want to say imploding, being exposed as like embracing evil, right? So let me show you these headlines, and then I'll talk about it in the voiceover portion. Biden administration asks to appeal court to block limiting its contact with social media. Government appeals ruling that restricts feds from contacting social media. Court pauses order limiting Biden administration contact with social media. U.S. court halts ban on government contact with social media. What to know about the order blocking Biden administration from communicating with social media companies. It's a no-brainer that the president and the government should not be going to private media corporations and telling them what's allowable and what's not in terms of political discourse and all the things that they've censored. This is a clear violation of the First Amendment. And what they're going to argue is that they're just trying to keep Americans safe. I've talked about this in the past. We're just trying to keep you safe. This is what they say when you go to a treatment center or you go to like a psych ward. Oh, we're just trying to keep you safe. Whenever they say that to you, you're effed, right? You're booped. And so here are some of the headlines for that. I want to say this a little bit more clearly. I am in the editing process. I'm sure I talk about it later. I've done a voiceover already, but I pretty much forget about what I said almost immediately after I've said it because, I'm making content every day, hours of content, and I only absorb so much of it. But repetition, there's no problem with repetition because that's how they sell the lies, right? They repeat the same lies over and over again. I'm getting off track here, but let me just start off here. So one of the lies in which they repeat on a daily basis is the Democrats are for free and fair election. And everyone else, truthers and Trumpers and everyone who disagrees with Biden and the electoral, how the elections worked out in 2020 and all the rest of it, are election deniers, and they're trying to kill democracy, right? So that's their official position, that this was fair and free elections, and the Democrats are the one who are upholding fair and free elections, right? Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are, because, Republicans have their own sordid history with rigging elections, of course, the left-right paradigm. But the Democrats, on a daily basis, the Democratic media, MSNBC and CNN and the old local news networks, ABC, or at least the major news networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, and the rest of these mainstream networks and the Democratic Party say over and over again they're the ones who are there to, make sure that there's free and fair elections. And Joe Biden has now come out, his administration, because it isn't him, it's his handlers have come out and say that even though a court ruling says that it's a violation of the First Amendment, and it was a long document, which you can hear about in the hearing, it's like 152 pages, the censorship hearing, has stated that it is illegal and wrong for the president and his administration to contact them, the social media companies, and say ban people and don't allow these things to be said, and pressure them because Biden threatened things against them. And I know I've talked about that here somewhere, so I'm not going to repeat it here. But he threatened them. The administration threatened them. And so the court ruling said this is a clear violation of the First Amendment. And it's the most important amendment because that's why they put it first. You lose the First Amendment, and the rest of the amendments will fall along with your civil liberties. Your ability to express yourself when the government wrongs you or big corporations wrong you or whoever it is wrongs you, and you being able to express it, when they take that away, then all the other rights will fall like dominoes. And so if you, as a personal candidate, as an individual candidate like RFK Jr. or even Trump now, contacts a social media company, you don't have the force and the bite and the rule of law and the ability to coerce and threaten these social media giants. But as president, you can do all kinds of things to make these social media giants suffer. And Biden has already gone to these, I guess it was Twitter, when RFK Jr. posted about Hank Aaron, a factual post, and told them to take it down and ban him. That was, again, he wasn't running against Biden then, but he is now. And that's an unfair advantage. If you allow the sitting president to censor what is basically the new press, because social media is the press that everybody goes to, right? Social media is where all of this stuff is seen. Young people don't watch the news anymore. The news, mainstream media is dying. So if you go to social media, you're censoring the press. You're getting rid of freedom of press, and you have an unfair advantage. And so you're rigging the election in your direction, right? You're saying my narrative, the narrative that we have as a administration, as a political candidate, is the only one that gets to be talked about on social media. That's a huge unfair advantage. And anything that you don't want, that you see as a political threat, you can then pressure these social media giants to censor that out. That's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a lot of other things too, right? And it's going completely like Mordor. This is going completely totalitarian dictatorship where you're censoring the opposition. So it's really bad, right? And the fact that they're doing this publicly, I mean, it's not being covered by the news media, of course, and the Hunter Biden thing, we already saw that, and the way that affected the election. So we already know they're doing this, but now they're coming out and saying, hey, the First Amendment no longer applies. It doesn't apply to us, and here I'm going to end my editing of this, but I was about to talk about what their reason for this is here. Biden administration asks appeals court to block order limiting its contact with social media. They shouldn't be contacting social media at all. And they threatened social media. It wasn't like social media was all about what they were asking them to do. Biden was trying to lift the privilege that social media has, that they won't be sued for anything that's put on their platforms, that they're free from being sued for libel or litigation in any way. And if they lose that, Mark Zuckerberg said we're done. They'd have to ask their lawyers to read every post. Like they'd have to have a team of lawyers reading every post and censoring every post to make sure it doesn't come back on them. So social media depends on their ability not to be held liable for what's posted by individuals on their accounts. And Biden and his administration was threatening to take that away. That's how greasy this thing is, right? This is how greasy this MNF, it's not him. We all know he's just, he's barely awake. Court pauses order limiting Biden administration contact with social media. Government appeals ruling that restricts feds from contacting social media. So again, this was a court case that was in Louisiana, and the judge put out a ruling that was 156 pages long or something like that. Extremely long ruling. And it documented all the times that Biden violated the First Amendment and his administration in contacting social media and forcing them to censor things that were against his, even things like his son, his son being a crackhead and losing his laptop or dropping his laptop in a tub, and all this stuff was there, right? All this stuff that was on the laptop was damaging to his campaign. And so I've said all along that these are private companies. YouTube, Google, they're private companies, Facebook, all these various companies. And they could censor anything they want. But when the government gets involved, then it's a First Amendment issue. Google and YouTube censoring content, based in policies they create is okay. It's not really okay, but it's okay in terms of the First Amendment. And they can do that legally. But doing it because the government and, the FBI or whatever it is forcing you to do so. And we already know that from the Twitter files and all these other things, that there was governmental interference, which is a First Amendment. And this is the freedom of press. If you want to call mainstream social media freedom of press, then which is, kind of what it is, and definitely what it is. And so this is a clear First Amendment violation, and the Biden administration is looking for an exemption because they're saying they have every right to censor things. At a time when they're opposing their biggest political opponent is being indicted, while his son is clearly a criminal. I'm not saying Trump isn't a criminal, but there is there's no longer any sort of hiding that the things that, were there to protect against any sort of, governmental takeover, the tyranny that they said they had to prevent Trump from doing. They had to remove Trump because he was a tyrant. It was going to, create some sort of anti-democracy here. He was going to end democracy with his election interference, but they have gamed and rigged the system, and they are saying, yeah, we get to do that. They're not denying that they did it. They're saying they get to do that. And so then there was this thing here, this thing to do with these stories where RFK Jr. was accused of using the numbers 14 and 88. And this story went away, of course, because it was bogus. But it was because Biden wouldn't give him Secret Service protection. I covered this in my last two videos, but I missed a central point here. And so this has been going on, in the internet for a little bit of time, and then they decided to get rid of they haven't talked about this since, but it was just, again, putting it out there that he was he was in some ways anti-Semitic. But Kennedy wrote this, how absurd this was, and how this was taken away from his legitimate claim to have Secret Service protection. And his guy, the guy who was his security guy, Gavin DeBecker, he's the one who went and approached Secret Service. And I missed this point. This guy is a famous guy, right? He's this is his website. He's in charge of security for, you can see it here. Gavin DeBecker is an American author and security specialist, primarily for governments, large corporations, and public figures. And so this guy is a guy that high-profile people, celebrities and politicians and, famous people go to get security. And he is the guy who has claimed here in this report, this letter from Gavin DeBecker to the Kennedy campaign. He's the guy who says that he came up with these numbers. So this guy it wasn't Kennedy who came up with the 88 and the 14. It's Gavin DeBecker. He talked about the 14 days the Biden administration had to turn things around, and the 88 days it took them to respond. And these numbers came from him. So Kennedy is exonerated. They should all apologize to him. They should all admit they were wrong, that it wasn't anti-Semitic, and that was a salacious claim, a slanderous claim on their part, because he didn't have anything to do with it. The numbers that he posted on Twitter came from a guy that everybody knows is everyone in this area, he's part of the club. Everyone knows that he's a legitimate security guy, and he came up with those numbers. He requested something, and it took the Biden administration 88 days to respond, and they should have responded in 14. So those numbers are from him and not Kennedy. Then there's this. How targeted propaganda works. Gavin DeBecker, best-selling author of The Gift of Fear, just made this insightful comment on the New York Post controversy. It's worth sharing. Targeted propaganda attacks works because they grab us emotionally. I am Jewish too. Bar mitzvahized. Grandfather escaped from Poland. So the whole topic is radioactive. And from the point of view, the New York Post article is masterful. It grabs us, gets us emotionally twisted, and sets people searching for adjacent material by bad people to link the topic to RFK raised. So Gavin DeBecker is Jewish. And he came up with the 14 and 88 numbers. So this is a completely bogus assertion, right? But there's no apology. There's no, there's nothing there, right? There's no accountability. There's no, oh, we got this wrong. There's nothing like that, right? And so then there's this final piece here. RFK Jr. sues Google and YouTube alleging censorship. RFK Jr. sues state actors, YouTube and Google, for censoring him. RFK Jr. is suing YouTube and Google over censorship. So this is what's happening here. RFK Jr. sues state actors, YouTube and Google, for alleged censorship of his anti-boop views. It's still going on. RFK Jr. has claimed his anti-boop interviews are being censored by YouTube and Google in a new lawsuit, which accuses the big tech behemoths of being state actors. And so we'll see how that plays out. But that's going to possibly, affect us positively given the outcome of that lawsuit. So I got a comment from somebody saying that, I know as much as anybody else that everything's scripted, which it isn't all scripted, and I've talked about that before. So I don't know that because there is the play of God, and there's godly things that happen. There's divinity, and that is the real controller of this plan, like the script. There's the divine script. There's the divine, and of course there's freedom of choice within that script. But there is ultimately God's will. There's the divine will. And nobody can escape it with our freedom of choice. And much of what people talk about freedom in America is a freedom to do wrong. I've talked about this extensively in my spiritual videos. But when people talk about freedom, it's the freedom to make the wrong decision. It's the freedom to do the wrong thing. Most so-called patriots and people who just, love their freedoms are anti-God and pro, for the lack of a better word, the devil being the ego. Because the ego loves to make wrong choices. And I was talking about this in my Journey series, the verse or second voiceover from what's going to be the 114th edition, that people, we have this transmission in the Gratefullness meditation that I do, the Sajmark meditation. And it is God's love, which everything and everybody needs. And yet, very few people want it. Very few people seek it out. Even though it's healthy on a spiritual level, it's the best thing ever. It's a primary building block for the human condition. And very few people want it. They don't want God's love. Most people are scared of God. They don't want to face God, right? Because they know their egos are scared of, being told you can't do this, you can't do that, right? There's, you shouldn't have done this or whatever. Like those things are there. They know what they've done wrong, and they don't want to go and face God because of it. Like I said over and over again, there's always just one right choice. It's the choice your soul and God want you to make. It's a choice that's, the higher part, your higher nature would make. The choice that's the right choice, the divine choice. And then there's an infinite amount of wrong choices. And human beings are wallowing in those wrong choices and saying we have the freedom to make those wrong choices, which we do, but we shouldn't. Right? It's like it's a wrong choice. It's a bad choice. Yeah, you have the freedom to do that. God's given you that, but it's a bad choice. And so this idea that everything's scripted by the so-called controllers, well, there is a scripted system, but they can't thwart the will of God and the consequences that come with wrong choices. So they're, they're powerless just like everybody else. They have some power right now that is, a short-lived power. You can only control things for so long. And there's always going to be warning signs. There's always going to be, things that are going to try to correct your behavior, things that are going to come up in your path to point you in the right direction. And you can ignore them or not, but they're being ignored. The divine forces that are working on behalf of God, etheric beings, what people would refer to as angels, that are here to guide humanity in the right direction, have given warnings over and over again, have shown us that we're on the wrong path, and we keep on going in that direction. And it's been politicized, and you've been told you have the right to make these wrong decisions, or collectively we do, and that people are taken away are the evil people. But in reality, it's thwarting the good divine process. And so there's that. And so this person was saying in the comment that Kennedy is part of the club and he's part of the script and he's just, shilling for whatever. He's playing his role. And that's possible. He obviously was born into the club being a Kennedy. And so that's, I'm not saying that's not possible. But as far as I can tell, that's not what's happening here. This seems to be a choice that humanity has, Americans have, in this case, in terms of the truth, in terms of what we consider the truth. And if he can't even get support in the truth community because people are like, oh, I don't want to get duped, whatever it might be. Because what do you have to lose? You have nothing. You see the way the system is going. I don't think the system should be saved because it's a bad system. And it's part of my belief system, the Sajmark prophecies and teachings, that this system has to collapse. And what I believe personally, it's not just believing it because they told me that. This is my experience, that the system has to collapse for something better to emerge. That the system is, dysfunctional in its very nature, the debt-based aspect of it, the pursuit of happiness, the pleasure-based aspect of it, the disconnection of the family, and all the things I talk about. And so I don't believe the system should be saved, but, you have to try. And, things have to come out, like, whatever work that you do. And again, like, I'm not trying personally, but if someone wants to try like Kennedy and that's his destiny, why should I stop him? Like, in a real way, not like Alex Jones. Maybe I'll show you a clip of Alex Jones after I get done with this voiceover. We'll start with that, with his Piers Morgan interview. And when you see that, that for me was the turning point, in my opinion, of Alex Jones, that he was a failure. I'll show you that after I'm done with this. And we'll start off from there. But Kennedy has done a good job. And they seem to be scared of him. And whether that's part of a script or whether he's whatever, you want to consider this, he's won a number of things here. And he's winning public opinion. He's much more popular than Biden or Trump. So he's winning the court of public opinion. He's winning people over on the internet. And these are, people who are better to have on your side than, like, say, these CNN shills and people have no audience and have no following and no real, people don't love anybody on CNN or MSNBC. Anderson Cooper's not an influencer, right? Mainstream media people aren't influencers anymore. People don't trust them. People don't like them. And younger people don't even watch them, don't even know who they are. But they know who Joe Rogan is. They know who, all these people on the internet are. And Kennedy has support of people who, are critical thinkers or people questioning the whatever it might be. And they can be, shills and whatever they are themselves. That's irrelevant, but he has their support. And these are more activated people. He's got the kind of support Bernie Sanders had and Trump has, where people are really into him, where people see him as a transformational figure. And early on in the process, he's championed our cause because we've been censored, and my channel is dying because of censorship. My channel is being extinguished because of YouTube censoring me and doing what it's doing to so many people. And as I said before, if they want to do that as a private company, that's their prerogative. But the government's been involved. And because of Kennedy and his campaign, there has been a hearing on Capitol Hill where the Democrats were exposed as saying that the First Amendment only applies to the official story, which is ridiculous because the First Amendment is about checks and balances to the official governmental story, right? And so, like, they came out and said the First Amendment is gone. That's basically what the Democrats have said. And Joe Biden is saying there's no such thing as the First Amendment. That we can do whatever we want, pressure people because we're just trying to keep you safe and we're right and they're wrong and they're terrorists and we're the good guys. And if we go into social media and tell them to deplatform people, it's right and just and It supersedes the Constitution. Our administration is better than the Constitution. And this is all those neocon freaks that Joe Biden has in his administration that have failed on everything and are running his foreign policy. So we've had this case that was litigated, and we won in Louisiana. Biden administration is trying to squelch that. And now Kennedy is suing YouTube, and Google is being state actors. And if he wins that, that's going to benefit us as well. The Democratic Party have already started to rig the election against him. They're they're embarrassingly forcing, excluding New Hampshire from their primary process, and anybody who campaigns there somehow loses the votes and can't register to be on the ballot in Georgia. I mean, they're already rigging it. They're already saying we don't believe in fair elections, even though they're all about fair elections, and this whole thing with Trump was about fair elections, right? And so all those things are happening right now. Like, they're great ways of seeing the Democrats expose themselves, as evil people, not in, they're degenerate, not in any way that anything we don't want to see, but in terms of being completely fraudulent and hypocritical. And it's coming out, and people are able to see it or not, but the Kennedy campaign has drawn the truth to the surface. He said that he was going to campaign on truth. That was his initial message. And whether he's a shill or not, this is him being a truther. And I don't believe he's a shill because I think he's, legitimately sincere in his approach. I don't think he can fix it. But certainly I like this part of the show. This is excellent. He's doing excellent work. And it's going to resolve the censorship in terms of what we experience on YouTube and Google one way or another. Either he's going to win or he's not. Either it's going to be said, okay, Biden wins his appeal. It's not Biden. It's, Biden's an old senile pooping in his depends MNFer. He's not running this thing, but his administration and the totalitarian dictatorship they're trying to create here as they loot what's left of American wealth, right? But there's going to be a ruling. There's already been one state that's ruled against Biden administration. There was he violated the First Amendment. And so either the First Amendment's gone or it's not. And either it'll be upheld or it won't. And that'll either positively affect us in terms of, YouTube and Google and all these things. And they'll have to change the way they do things. Or we know that this is short-lived, that in terms of self-expressions and, what I do here is something that they're going to get rid of. They're going to get rid of our ability to do that. And so we'll see. It's going to go one way or another. Now, at least we'll know, right? It won't be some, oh, wow, this is just lingering on and, how's this going to work out? And it's just a slow erosion and like the level of everything that's happened here for me personally on this YouTube channel where, I was getting 100 new subscribers a day to where, I've been squeezed more and more. My ability to make a living here. This is the first time anybody's challenged this. This is the first time somebody prominent, a prominent presidential candidate from a historic family is challenging YouTube and Google in a legal capacity, that there'll be a ruling. And all the rest of these things that have been exposed because of his administration. First one being censorship, but it has so much to do with everything else. This is the First Amendment, right? We're dealing with just the First Amendment. They're trying to get rid of the First Amendment. Well, how long before the Second Amendment is gone? Or whatever other amendments. Like, this is them attempting to destroy the First Amendment. The Biden administration is openly saying that they can violate the First Amendment. The First Amendment no longer applies to them because of their need to keep America safe and keep you safe, which is just, we all know, safe from them, right? Safe from who? Safe from us, right? Like, let's say we were a real threat to America. That would mean that the truth is a threat to America. It isn't that there's lies here. I mean, it's disinformation according to the lie that is the official story. But if truth is a threat to our system, then our system should fail. It should disappear. Our system should end. And if any system is allergic to truth, it's time for that system to go away. And that's what should happen here. And so that's what they're trying to prevent. And, it's trying to keep something afloat that should have died years ago. It's a ghoulish system. It's a system that's been exposed as being anti-God, anti-family, anti-nature, anti-everything that's, good and holy. And it's taken us in the wrong direction. We get weaker, more self-indulgent, more selfish, more entitled, everything that's bad, more egotistical. And we become less of a, less than. We're stupider, idiocracy, all of it, right? You see it around you. Human beings are going in the wrong direction because we have a system that's taking us there, a system of our own creation. It's an ego-based system that has discluded divinity, has thwarted its nose at divinity, and has, pushed this idea of freedom of choice and freedom to do the wrong thing. And that's where we are. And if the truth is injected into this system, the system will, cease to exist. And so whatever your position is on Kennedy, he clearly is bringing this forward. There's going to be, it's not a matter whether he wins or loses in terms of the presidential candidacy, because like I said, I don't believe he or anybody else can save a system that's, demonic or evil, whatever you want to call it, that goes against the will of God. And I don't think the system should be saved. But it's what happens in the process. And humanity is given, Americans are being given an opportunity here to choose the right thing. And if they don't, right? This is, at least the opportunity was given. And that's why supporting him is to me, being a truther, because it's finally somebody who represents all of us in in an effective way, in a way that could actually benefit us. At least there's the opportunity for success. There's the possibility for success. Let me go to the Alex Jones thing just to contrast this, right? So I just want to add this here before we go on to the next piece with Alex Jones, which I've already done. I'm in the editing process. But I want to say this because I left it out of these various narratives. So it could have went anywhere in the narrative, but I'm sticking it in here whether it fits or not because that's that's where it has to go. But I don't have the ability to sue YouTube or the desire to do any of these things, to litigate these things. I don't have the desire to run for political office. And my work is in a different arena, right? Some of it's spiritual, some of it's, whatever else that I do here on this YouTube channel. And that's what's suited to me. What I do here, what I do in terms of the homestead. And, I'm not a people person. I don't have the ability. I'm not a networker. In fact, I am weak. And, I'm underdeveloped in social circumstances, being a social person, rallying people together, being a leader. That's not what I do. And the truth community has been not represented at all. We don't have an organization, even though we're lots of people and we have lots of resources. We don't have some sort of lobbying group. We're not at all an organization. Once in a while, some truthers go out and hold up some signs and say stupid stuff and do stupid things, but it doesn't have an impact on anybody. We're not, seen as a demographic that's being mistreated, that's being marginalized. And we are. We've certainly all feel it and we understand it. And we're such a sort of a, we don't get along with each other, right? We're an adversarial group. And so we don't do well with each other. Usually when truthers get together, there's lots of arguments and, there's all these different groups and, so we're not a cohesive unit. But RFK Jr. is willing to litigate suing YouTube. And, it's doing it for himself, but it's, in some ways on our behalf. And he's willing to do some of these other things. And he's like the champion of the truth movement. And there hasn't been one. And whether he's going to be successful or he's going to fail, it would behoove all of us to support him regardless of that. Because he's not and I'll show you this contrast between him and Alex Jones, but it would be, in our best interest, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do what he's doing. I don't want to spend my time and energy this way. And I don't have the ability. And there hasn't been anybody else who does. There hasn't been anybody else who could speak for the truth community and, represent the truth community as a whole and the things that are important to us. Maybe not specifically, not our specific issues and our total worldview or whatever, But basically, the general idea he does here. I've seen it over and over again. I'm going to show you some stuff in the Farmer. I've already done the rest of this video, so I know what's coming. I'm in the editing process, but you'll see it for yourself as you move forward with the video. As far as I can tell, he gets, the general idea of what we believe in. We have our disagreements, but, the basic framework or template. And he's going to fall on the truther side of things, at least in terms of what he's presenting here. And if he turns out to be a shill or whatever, a scripted actor, well, what do we have to lose? It doesn't matter. At least there was somebody that kind of represented the truthers as an entity that there could be some, movement and things done within the beastly system to fight back against the censorship and the mistreatment of people in the truth community. And that's, people who are organic farmers. That's people who, do a whole host of things, right? Who are being underrepresented and being overwhelmed by the corporate forces, big pharma, big farms, big agri, all these things. And we see it. And so there's really nothing to lose, which I talk about later in this video. Anyways, let's go to the Alex Jones thing.
Here's how this is going to work.
Here's Alex Jones and Piers Morgan. So Piers Morgan was being litigated against as part of being the Rupert Murdoch empire in England. Rupert Murdoch was under some sort of criminal investigation, and Piers Morgan was a part of it. And there was a chance that Piers Morgan was going to jail. And Piers Morgan came over here. He was on the Donald Trump Celebrity Apprentice, I think the first or second season, which he won, and it was really ugly and really sucky. There was a time where Simon Cowell came on, and they were kind of cutting on each other, but Simon Cowell gave him a bunch of money, and it was a whole thing. It was really greasy. And Piers Morgan's one of the most unlikable people. But he brought Alex Jones on, and so Alex Jones hadn't been a figure the mainstream media had ever talked about in any way that was, mostly their policy was to ignore truthers. So this is before all the things that happened with fake news and things came out, long before they deplatformed Alex Jones. And this is back when Alex Jones used to have quality guests on his show, and he was actually, much better than he is now. There was real truther stuff. He wasn't just, an ass clown. He was, he had a better quality show. And I was interested in seeing this video. I already kind of knew Alex Jones was a shill, and he was a disinformation agent, but I didn't know it was going to go this badly. And so instead of being a reasonable person and expressing things in a factual way, or whatever, debating things in a way that was, well, let's just watch it here.
It's entirely down to you. I'm going to ask you some questions in the spirit of a proper debate, and you've had a lot to say so far on the show, a lot of it aimed at me, which is fine. But I want you to try and answer the questions. It's a proper debate, okay? I'm not trying to trip you up.
No, it's not a debate. You're running the show. You bring in your victims up front.
Actually, no.
Look, you got your little note cards.
Yeah, okay.
I just gave you FBI statistics that violent crime and gun crime is down over 20%.
Alex, let me just ask you
And
this.
you want to go to little factoids.
No, they're not little
Anybody
factoids.
can pull those.
So him doing this, right? Alex Jones doing this. Like even going on CNN was a mistake because it's going to be rigged against you. But he goes on CNN and he acts exactly the way they want him to act. This is the profile they were trying to create. This is, early QB. This is before QBs. They want to create somebody who's unhinged, who's unreasonable, and who's in the face of what's considered facts by all these stooges and all these sheeple in the mainstream media. When he's, faced with somebody who's an authority figure or represents the authoritative narrative, he falls apart and gets emotional. And it just gets worse from here. He implodes, and he gives them everything they want. Like he's on their team, right? Whether, I believe he's a disinformation shill, but either way, let's say he's not. Let's say he's just organically doing this, which of course we all know he isn't. Like it's all come out. Like he said himself that this is a character. He said legally, when he was divorcing his wife, this is just a character he plays. It's a performance art. And so this is a character he decided to play, and it's very profitable. We know this with the Cubies. He's going to get a lot of dopes that follow him. He's going to sell a lot of money, a lot of product. He made like $160 million in like 3 years. He's been very successful. And so this works. This character he's created works. I could be like this. Anybody could act like this and generate a lot of support, get a lot of motion, bring people, people who support people's fears and anger, be a voice for their fears and anger, their lower emotions. Yeah, you can, get a good audience and make a good living, but it's not truth, right? It hurts, it hurts the whole truth community. It hurts everything, right? It hurts the system. It's manipulating people on a lower level.
Those up. Listen.
Do you know what?
Do you have a bodyguard,
Alex?
Why do you have bodyguards?
I don't have a bodyguard.
Yeah, I've seen you on the news with them. Don't you want to protect your wife from hoodlums, or you want to call the police?
Let me ask you this question.
Why does Dianne Feinstein tell 60 Minutes that she plans to try to take Mr. and Mrs. America's guns? Have you seen that?
Over me.
You guys want to disarm all of America.
No, I don't.
Dianne Feinstein's bill does.
I don't.
Gun confiscation.
No, let me clarify for you. You don't seem to understand.
First you register, then you confiscate.
Again, being rude, interrupting, yelling, looking unhinged. And to his followers, his diehard followers, they think he's rocking it. But he's not, right? He's doing something. He's doing a service to us all.
Okay, it's always done the same.
Here's what the campaign on this
here, give me your little cue cards and I'll answer your questions for you.
What was the weapon used at Sandy Hook?
I've already gone over that and already answered it for you.
We haven't talked about Sandy Hook.
No, again,
what was the weapon?
It's a 223 M4.
Right.
Again, but statistically, they're using very low percentage of shootings, period.
Are you
seeing people wouldn't go swimming because the movie Jaws, even though great white sharks kill 5 people a year. You're trying to scare people.
Let me say something.
There's no metal shark in the water.
The same type of weapon was used in...
just when I first saw this, I'm like, oh my God, he's really doing this, right? Like, it was a mistake to go on here, and Piers Morgan looks like the reasonable one. Piers Morgan, who's a real a-hole and just a complete unlikable person, and he appears to be the sane, reasonable one. Again, not to, Alex Jones's followers, but who cares about that? Preaching to the choir isn't what's going on here. You don't go on CNN in terms of, if you're a truther, you don't go on CNN to win more of your own followers or to, get the lower end of the, QB type people who are angry and fearful and stupid. You go on there to win over other people. Otherwise, you don't go. You're trying to expand what, Alex Jones is trying to do is win the info war. This whole thing is there's an info war. He's trying to win it. He's not winning this thing here because he's acting like a complete, unhinged person. And I was like, this guy isn't a champion. I'm comparing him to RFK Jr. here, right? The difference between RFK Jr., who can effectively litigate something and can debate things without, ending up here, right? Like, you get frustrated with the lies and deception and the corruption and the rigged nature of the system. But getting unhinged and being like this isn't the answer. It's what they want you to do, right? They're pushing you to do this. They're pushing you to act like this. This is why I'm talking about the QB. So I had to take a break. We'll get back to Alex Jones in a second here. But there's been a development. My wife and I had to leave to go to this farmer's market. We get this milk from these people. They're not Amish, but they're like Amish adjacent. They're German something or other. They wear hats and, those type of, headwear and stuff like that. And as we were traveling there, I had sent something to my wife, and she had listened to it. I didn't have time, but it was RFK Jr., and he was with these people in a round table, an RFK round table with organic farmers who want to save soil, these types of progressive, more natural green farmers. And I'll show you a little bit of that because I want to contrast that with this, and then I got some things to add in a voiceover. The difference between RFK Jr. and Alex Jones, right?
The last three
and that's right.
mass shootings.
And Hitler used semi-autos to kill people.
Why would you
and
not?
So did Mao.
Why would you?
Why is the government arming to the teeth against us?
Alex, I don't.
What about Fast and Furious?
Alex,
why did our government ship guns into Mexico?
Alex,
to blame the Second Amendment?
Let's have a debate.
A false flag?
Alex,
to blame the Second Amendment?
I get accused.
Why'd they blow up Building 7 down the street here in New York?
I get accused when I get you guys on of talking over you, of being...
So you understand this, and I still have some people who like Alex Jones come to my channel. But at the time, when this interview took place, for a few years I had seen Alex Jones as kind of a shill, but I didn't see him as a negative. I knew that he was controlled opposition around this time. I don't know exactly the time frame, but I didn't see him as a negative, right? I didn't see him as, controlled opposition is always a negative, but the negative implications weren't there because he had his audience and he had quality guests on, and he was producing information that was essential, and he had the most money, the biggest budget. He had the most professional setup, where everyone else was, people like me here doing a low budget type of, our own research without much of a, a show or whatever it is, right? And so he had an actual newsstand and, these things. And, it was easier for people to watch him than, and then make the leap into, people with a more underground, less budget type of format. And so I didn't see him as horrible yet. Like, this is his defining moment. But when he went on here, he not only he was off-putting to anybody who wasn't a truther. So he wasn't going to win anybody, like anybody who's a CNN audience, anybody watching this. He seems combative. He's not just seems, he's combative. He's argumentative. His points get lost in his rude behavior. And, he looks crazy and all these things, right? He's feeding the narrative, like I said, over and over again. This is what the QBs do. And instead of realizing how you look to other people, because Alex is supposedly conducting an info war, but he wasn't doing that. He was preaching to the choir. He was preaching to his base, the same thing that Trump does. And that, doesn't win an info war, right? That's polarizing. And he became a polarizing figure where Piers Morgan looks like the more reasonable one. I mean, Piers Morgan is a known a-hole, right? He's just a horrible person. And he looks much better than Alex Jones does.
Rude. I'm trying to be civil, right? You've got to try and answer some of the questions, right? Here's my issue for you. Why do civilians need an AR-15 type assault rifle? Why do you
already said statistically they're used in a very low amount of the crimes. That's an FBI fact.
They've been used in the last 3 mass shootings.
Yes. I'll tell you why. Because they advertise it in the media. Anybody knows that if somebody jumps off the Empire State Building, they put cops up there the next day because copycats come to do it again. The media hypes and hypes and hypes.
No, that's not the question.
Don't just commit suicide.
Alex, why do people
Don't commit suicide by killing a bunch of kids. And here's the gun to use because it's the one the U.S. Army uses.
Why do people need them?
They need them to protect us from the #1 killer in history. Government in the 20th century, university study out of Hawaii killed 292 million people. It's called democide. Google it, folks.
Do you believe everyone in America should everyone in America therefore have an AR-15 if they want one?
Statistically, where there's more guns, there's lower crime. The highest.
Okay, so he's gave one good answer there, which is governments kill people. But he did it in such a, he's all over the place, speaking quickly, ranting, and his delivery is horrible. If he calmly said to Piers Morgan, the reason is, the Second Amendment provides for this, that we have to be aware of tyrannical governments. And, in a few years, Piers Morgan, who was a huge Trump fan when he was on The Celebrity Apprentice, and now has turned on Trump, right? Trump was accused of trying to create a tyranny, right? Being tyrannical. So even the left has acknowledged this possibility that a president could take over and turn this country into an anti-democratic situation. That was the conspiracy here, that the Democrats came up against Trump, that he was, and Trump said things and hinted at things and provided information that would allow this narrative to exist. Of course, he wasn't going to do that, and he didn't do that, but it was a possibility. And now we see it with Joe Biden trying to remove the First Amendment, which is, he's publicly doing that. So the government now is infringing on people's amendments and their constitutional rights. And so that would be the reason And again, it's not a really valid reason in terms of the military is still superior here. But the original founding fathers wanted a militia type situation where there wasn't a standing military. Certainly there wasn't a military industrial complex. And so it's a reasonable idea. Also, if things break down in a post-apocalyptic situation, people might, think it's an advantage for them to be armed with something more than just, like would be a military grade type of situation, right? So those are reasonable responses that Alex Jones could have given. Why people own these things, why they think it's necessary. But he did it, and his delivery is horrible. And when he does give a quality answer, a partial answer that is okay, it's lost in translation, right? He's a ranting lunatic, and you wouldn't want this guy owning a gun. Like his behavior, his emotional, volatile, angry, being angry and emotional, his emotional state. You're like, I don't want this guy owning a gun, right? So they're talking about gun control. You don't want to come off as crazy. You don't want to come off as angry. You don't want to come off as hostile. And he totally does that. It gets worse here.
This crime is in Bloomberg,
But you have the most
controlled
guns
areas.
of any of the 23 richest countries in the world. And you have
Well, America was born on guns and whiskey.
Right. But
it's true we're a violent society.
Right. So you
but
accept that America
statistically,
has the most
knives
guns
kill
and the
3
most gun
times more.
murders.
Have you seen the FBI numbers? Knives, bats, rocks
Let's talk guns.
kill many times more.
Alex, let's talk
It's
about
not
the guns.
It's not the
So when he's trying to calm him down, like Piers Morgan is making him look crazy. When he's trying to calm him down and say, get control of your emotions, right? And, like I said, if you're debating guns, the one thing you don't want to do is come across emotionally unstable, right? Or psychologically unstable.
the rock. It's not the knife. When a mother chops her kids up with a cleaver because she's on serotonin.
Alex, tell me why I'm wrong.
Why don't you want to get rid of the drugs?
AR-15s?
Because they're half your sponsors?
No, stick to the subject.
America's #1 cause of unnatural death now is suicide.
Okay. Alex,
not
let's try
automobile
again.
accident, not cancer, not...
You
Listen,
accuse me of attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
I want to get people off pills that the insert says will make you commit suicide and kill people.
Alex, let's get about to the Second
I
Amendment.
want to blame the real culprit.
Alex.
Suicide pills.
Alex.
Mass murder pills.
Okay, so then this is where he starts to lose it. Like, it just goes from bad to worse. Everything he's done up to this point has been bad. And this is where he's going to challenge Piers Morgan to a fight. And, it's funny, but it's a disaster, right?
Let me ask you one question. Your belief, unless I'm wrong,
First time anybody's ever heard this, by the way.
your belief, unless I'm wrong, is that under the Second Amendment, your real concern is that you will be overrun by a tyrannical regime, either from somewhere else
Yeah,
or
highway
from your own government.
checkpoints. Look at Mexico. Total gun ban for the citizens. Highest crime rate in the world. 57,000 people dead the last 5 years. Total gun ban for the citizens.
But you're
Switzerland has the lowest crime rate in Europe. Your country has the highest.
Alex, we have 35.
Because that's aggressive, like the way he's pointing at him, right? He's getting physically intimidating, like it's going to come to a physical altercation. And so, again, you want to show that you could be a responsible gun owner, that you would be responsible. That would be the way you'd want to play this, that you're reasonable, you're calm, that you're going to be, you're not going to be emotionally damaged people, emotionally explosive people who, anger makes you make bad decisions. Fear makes you make bad decisions. There's things that happen when you have a fear response or an anger response and your brain doesn't work right. That's why they use fear. Like I've always said, Republicans use fear and it turns to anger, and Democrats use anger and it turns to fear. That's, those are the, ways that different parties use to get people to make stupid decisions, fear-based decisions, angry decisions, right? And you don't make good decisions when you're angry and you're scared. And so what you want to do is show that you're calm and that you can handle conflict in a way that isn't going to go to a violent situation, because getting any kind of a firearm and getting any kind of military grade firearm, if you're going to escalate into an anger situation where you're creating, a violent confrontation, the more violent the weapon, the more efficient the weapon, the more damage you're going to do. And so you want to be able to be reasonable, show that you're reasonable, right? Crazy people, nobody wants a crazy person to have a gun. Like, that's nobody. Like, NRA people, whatever. But most of us don't want crazy people owning guns, right?
5 gun murders a year. You have 11,000.
You people get their brains. It's the higher crime rate.
Let me ask you,
violent crime is higher.
On this specific...
It's brains.
Alex,
it's people.
I'm trying to get inside your brains.
Piers,
it's
if
not
you punched me
easy.
right now, it'd be not your fist, but your brain that did it.
Let me get inside your brain.
Okay.
Okay? I'm serious. You have a very, very big platform. You air, I think, on 63 networks.
No, that Wikipedia is like 10 years old. I'm on over 140 stations. XM.
Millions of Americans hear you
over 1.5 million
day.
visitors to Infowars.com today,
where
we have the statistics posted right now.
Bragging.
Infowars.com.
Who do you believe was behind 9/11?
Oh, I absolutely know. I have the police on CNN saying, get back, they're going to blow up 7. I have BBC reporting.
Who do you believe is behind
I have the proof. I heard them on CBS Radio.
Who, Alex?
They announced they blew up the towers on CBS Radio.
Who do you believe?
New Yorkers all saw it and heard it.
Alex, who do you
believe?
They
blew up Building 7.
Alex, who do you believe was behind it? The American government?
Criminal elements of the military-industrial complex, the same ones that staged Gulf of Tonkin, the same ones that staged the mass shootings of Operation Gladio.
Right.
Ooh, the CIA don't like this right now.
Do you mean that President Bush and his administration were behind 9/11?
I mean that even mainstream news reported that the hijackers were ordered to be allowed into the United States. Michael Springman, the head of the Visa Department, blew the whistle on that.
So the Bush administration was part of a conspiracy
he should never let us tolerate
to murder Americans.
So this is funny where he starts to he starts to mimic Piers' accent in a bad way.
I can speak in this accent as well.
Yeah.
The
but is that what you
government,
believe?
Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag, Piers, to bring in martial law in Germany. April.
He sounds like like the Stewie character on that Family Guy show.
27th, 1933. Governments have staged terror attacks throughout history or allowed terrorists to attack as a pretext to invade and enslave the populations. I probably own more than 50 firearms. Many of them have increased in value 2, 3, or even 4 times. I sleep very comfortably outside Austin, Texas, knowing that I can defend my family.
Okay, Alex Jones. This is
Infowars.com.
This is the man who wants to deport me from the country for wanting to get rid of
it's
rifles,
to point out you're a foreigner, a red coat, here telling us what to do.
Whatever.
Go back to where they took the guns if you don't like it. The communist.
Okay, so there was a part, I don't know if I can find it, where he challenges him to a fight. Okay, so I found the part where he challenges him to a fight. I think it was before that segment, because that sounded like it was ending. But this is, he's unhinged throughout the interview.
Sharks.
No, how many
kill people every year, but they're scared to swim?
Right. How many gun murders were there in Britain?
A very low amount. I already went over those statistics.
Many, do you know?
It was only a few hundred.
No. How many gun murders?
I actually did pull up the statistics. Here, let me pull them out right here. I figured you'd do that.
Gun murders in Britain last year.
UK violent crime, capital of Europe, London Telegraph. Here, let me give you more.
It's quite a simple question.
Well, that's the oldest.
You're a very loud man.
That's the oldest Perry Mason tactic to ask me some little factoid.
It's not a little factoid.
I already said earlier,
we're talking about
England has a lot lower gun crime rate because you took all the guns.
Let me try exactly my point.
But you've got hordes of people burning down cities and beating old women's brains out every day.
What a ridiculous
They arrest people in England if they defend themselves. That's on record. My God, you have got a total police state. Everybody's fleeing that country because you've had to flee here, bud. And I want to say this.
They cut this out, but he was talking about he was investigated. I told you that earlier. The Rupert Murdoch thing.
Right here. You think you're a tough guy? Have me back with a boxing ring in here, and I'll wear red, white, and blue, and you can wear your Jolly Roger.
Okay, so Jolly Roger is the pirate flag, which is a great flag, the best flag. The skull and crossbones. But he means whatever they call it, the English flag. And challenging him to a boxing match, it's just everything I talk about here, right?
Let's try again. How many gun murders were there?
Oh, you're going to ban your fist now?
In Britain last year.
How many chimpanzees can dance on the head of a pin? I already went over those statistics.
Do you know the answer?
So they just go through this, right? And Alex looks like he doesn't want to answer the questions that Piers is giving him, doesn't look prepared. Looks like he's, just a BSers being called out on real statistics. Piers Morgan has the real statistics, and Alex has a bunch of crazy conspiracy theories. But I say this so much, and this is what I talk about with the Cubies. They want to create this profile. The intelligence community and the Biden administration now and the mainstream media now and all these other people. They're working together to put together a profile of crazy conspiracy theorists, people who not only shouldn't have guns, but shouldn't have the ability to express themselves because they're violent, because they're racist, because they're mentally unstable, and because they're paranoid and can't be trusted with firearms, but even more so now with a microphone, because you're going to spread all kinds of lies and anger. And here's the guy with the biggest platform with all these followers, and it ended up segueing into the Cubies, who can be made to do things like the so-called insurrection that Trump is now being charged with, right? So this is the beginning of that profile, where they went from ignoring truthers, where they bring Alex Jones out from his InfoWars cave into with Piers Morgan, right? So this is 2013. Trump would win the nomination 2000 and whatever it was, 15, 16, and he would win the presidency. And then the idea of fake news would come out, and then they started censoring people. They censored Alex Jones, and then the stuff happened with the Cubies. And there was all these steps they went to create a profile to where they're now saying anything that's not the official story is not protected under the First Amendment. And Alex Jones fed into that by being unreasonable, by being, aggressive and all these things. I just want to add something here. And I talked about this with Dr. Peter Hotez. So when you're in a situation where you go on one platform or one format or another, and there's all these various formats, and as a candidate and as a so-called expert, you want to put yourself and your movement in a position of success. So when Alex Jones is going on Piers Morgan show, Piers Morgan has he's going for ratings, he's going for whatever he's going for. And he has his handlers and people who want him to do a hit job on the growing truth movement. And so Piers Morgan's objectives are to make Alex look crazy, to make Alex look unhinged, and again, for his audience and then whoever else might watch it, right? Now, Alex Jones has his own agenda. He has goals, right? When a person goes on a talk show or, interview, and they want to sell their book or they want to sell tickets to their comedy show, or they want to, shill for something, or they got a point of view, or they want to, whatever it is, whatever they're pitching, right? And Alex is pitching InfoWars. And the idea behind InfoWars was if you wake everybody up, you get all the information out to people who don't have access to it because the mainstream media doesn't cover it, that they'll be changed because people then will demand that their candidates take action, and they'll vote accordingly, they'll spend their money accordingly, and they'll use their powers of either protest or of, their as consumers or as voters to push the people in power to do their bidding, right? That's the idea behind InfoWars. And so Alex's objectives here are to expose a new audience. When you're in a debate, you're not performing for Piers Morgan. You're not performing for CNN. You're performing for his audience. And you want his audience to see the brilliance or the truth behind your arguments. You want to give them new information that they haven't heard before. That's why you would go on CNN. But going into it, they're going to rig it against you. You know what Piers Morgan is going to try to do, right? It's like when you're playing sports, you have one, offense is trying to do one thing, like the defense is trying to shut down the run or shut down the pass or whatever. Limit your weapons and your strengths and things. They have a game plan and you have a game plan. And Alex, if he was, again, he's acting here, he's playing his character or whatever he's doing. He's been given his orders by the disinformation agents to go out there and act like a fool, and so he can hurt the truth community. Because that's the only, either he's crazy and he's sucks, or he's performing to hurt us all, right? And you can see it there. He's operating as a shill, as somebody who, again, he'll get support from his base. All his Alex Jones InfoWars fans who tune in will be like, oh, yeah, he killed Piers Morgan. Yeah, he was aggressive, and they'll see this as a win. But they're the only ones. Everyone else is going to look at this as like Alex Jones embarrassed himself, right? And, that's even truthers, even people in the truth community, people who are at least partially Alex Jones fans are rooting for him to do a good job here. He failed. He just was a disaster. He doesn't look professional. He doesn't come off educated or smart or any of these things. And so I just got a comment here, a long comment. I had to take 2 screenshots of it, right? And I didn't read the whole thing, but I'll read that thing here. As I have so far failed to see the nuance in this Kennedy fawning. If we are going to claim that the system is rigged, that claim is for all of it. It's Trump, Bush, Obama, et al. Were selected, then so is Kennedy. If the system is a game for our benefit, so then this whole saga with Kennedy, just like with the Cubies, I'm calling all of you that are being worked by the system, yet once again by the Kenbys, grow up. Well, there is definitely a difference here. There are several differences, and we'll get into it. I'll show you Kennedy now as we contrast that with Alex Jones in a moment. But I'm not going to read the rest of the comment because it's long or whatever it is. And I might read it, the whole thing and address it there. I'll probably keep that comment and I'll read it in a future video. This video is getting long. But I just want to say this. There's a difference because if you see candidates, right, that are not going to win the Tulsi Gabbards and the Marianne Williamsons and the Klobuchars and the Buttigiegs and, the various candidates that aren't supposed to win. And then you see people like Jeb Bush, who was supposed to win, but nobody liked him, right? You see people who are, not supposed to be a legitimate candidate running. And then you see all the other people who want to run for president and can't even get up on the debate stage. Lots of people who there's a comedian, Dick Gregory, people like that. He ran for president every year. And then there's just average Joe people who have the right to run for president but have no chance, right? And the candidates they pick, the people that they were pushing in the Democratic primary were Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They pushed Kamala Harris. She got up to 12% approval, and then she was attacked by Tulsi Gabbard, and she was, front and center. People got a good look at her. The Democrats did, and they're like, oh, we don't like this. Boop, right? She's just so annoying. And she got, she was down to 1% and had to quit. But they still ran her as VP anyway. And so those were the hand-picked candidates, Biden and Kamala Harris. Nobody else was even given a chance at the Democratic primary. And so this person's saying that, like, the Q movement was pushed out there by the media and was pushed out there throughout social media, and then the Cubies have been on mainstream media all the time, where mainstream media has not wanted to cover Kennedy. And they're trying to keep him from even running for this Democratic nomination. They're already rigging the system against him, just like they did with Bernie. Now, to say that Bernie isn't part of the beast, well, he isn't like the rest of these guys. Bernie isn't. And Trump wasn't in the beginning because no one expected Trump to win. And Trump got a big following, enthusiasm that no one expected, and I think even Trump. I don't even think Trump himself wanted to win. And so there are nuances here, right? This person is just having complete black and white thinking because there are certainly differences in Kennedy. As the person says, I have so far failed to see the nuance in this Kennedy fawning. If we're going to claim that the system is rigged, that claim is for all of it, Trump, Bush, Cubies, et al. Yeah, Trump and Bush both won. And, they maybe pivoted on Trump and saw that, we can really work this guy. And, I don't know if they picked Trump right off the bat. But if Kennedy wins, then we can talk about it, right? If Kennedy wins, we can talk about it being legitimate. Or then all this opposition they're creating towards Kennedy was a way to make him president. And if that's the case, that's the case. He still represents the truth community a lot more than any other candidate, whether he's a shill or not, right? But there is a difference here. And right now, Kennedy's doing poorly with the Democrats since they've been working these narratives against him. And, they're attacking him on all sides in ways, to me, that would indicate that they're serious about trying to shut him down. And that is whatever it is, that he is somebody they don't want being their nominee or they don't want being president. And again, if he becomes president, then you have to look at it differently, because then it's like, well, maybe they wanted him all along. Sure, that would be a good assessment. But right now, he's nothing like the Cubies. He's nothing like Obama. He's nothing like Bush. He's nothing like Trump. He's nothing like Biden. He's, somebody who's being sincere and authentic. If you hear him talk, he's totally different than any other candidate. If you can't see that, I don't know what to say. You can't see that there's a difference. And he's going out and he's talking to truthers. I'll show you him talking to farmers. He's going out and talking to regular people, hearing their issues and identifying with them and talking about his own battles with this stuff. And so, maybe this was all a contrived narrative. And if it is, it is. We have nothing to lose. Like, I don't have anything to lose, right? Being wrong about it. I mean, right now, I'm already getting dividends. Like, there's already benefits to me and my show here and what I do here. I'm already benefiting. I've benefited multiple times already from Kennedy's candidacy. The hearing was great. It gave me content, and it made the Democratic Party display itself. I mean, there are lots of things that Kennedy has done. And if Kennedy's elected, does he push their agenda, or do they attack him constantly and block him from making any real movements and undermine him at every turn? And so we have to see it play out. We don't know yet if he's a shill. I don't believe he is, but he could be. But right now, you don't know that. You're just assuming that based in the idea that, I always say if there's a microphone in somebody, they're in front of somebody, they're controlled. But they didn't put a microphone in front of Kennedy. He hasn't been on CNN or MSNBC in years. They don't interview him. He was on Fox occasionally, only because Roger Ailes and him were good friends. And he said he had a weird friendship, even though they had different political views. They knew each other from a young age. But anyways, I'll cover this more in my next video. But let's go to the contrast here. Let's go to Kennedy and the forum with the farmers. So this is a bunch of farmers. Elizabeth Kucinich, Dennis Kucinich's wife. This guy's an Amish farmer. My wife and I were listening to this as we went to, buy food from farmers, local farmers at a farmer's market. And these are issues that we all care about. So Kennedy introduces himself. He talks about the work he did with poultry farmers and mostly hog farmers to try to prevent what ended up happening with the industrialization of animal farming, where these animals were packed in small warehouses and are treated inhumanely, are dosed with lifelong doses of antibiotics because they're in filthy, unsanitary conditions. And it's low nutrient food, and these local farmers were put out of business. And he talked about how these big industrial farmers put the small farmers out of business. And so he went around talking about this, and then he went to Poland, and he said the same thing in Poland that he said in America, but Polish laws are different, and this is what he had to say.
Same thing in front of the Polish parliament. And they filed a criminal case against me. In this country, truth is a defense to libel, but in Poland it isn't. So if you just say something bad about a corporation, they have a defamation case and it's criminal. They put you in jail. Well, I had to flee Poland. I couldn't go back for about 10 years until the statute of limitations ran on that. Anyway.
So this is stuff that he really did, right? Like, this could be fact checked. He fought for the small farmers, which many of us care about, and I'll get into this more in the narrative section of the video, but he talks about this reasonably. He litigated against the big farmers, and he went and he talked about this, and he went to Poland because there was a connection with Poland and these big farmers. And when he said the same thing in Poland, they could charge him criminally, and not if it was truth. I mean, if it was truth, they can still charge you. That's what he said. In Poland, if he was telling the truth about these corporations, it didn't matter. All that matters is it hurt their business, right? And he didn't know this, and he said things that they charged him criminally with for slander, and he had to flee the country and leave for 10 years until he couldn't come back for 10 years because of statute of limitations. So these are some of the work that he's done. But the next guy that goes talks about farmers or the Mexican president only wanting non-GMO grains. So this guy said that Mexico wanted to only buy non-GMO grains from America, and America was suing them to make them take the GMO Monsanto grains, right? And so Kennedy asked this guy a question about this.
Look, can I just ask you one question? You said that what is the issue with the Mexican corn, that we can grow it here, but they won't let us export it?
No, it's not so much that. It's that Mexico, the president in Mexico, has banned GMO corn and soy and glyphosate. And he's being taken to trade court by the...
Glyphosate is what Monsanto put in Agent Orange that is in Roundup. And, Kennedy's litigated against glyphosate and won against Monsanto, right? That is now owned by Bayer, I believe. Everyone knows about Monsanto in the farming community.
The USDA, because we want to make them take the GMO crops. In the meantime, there are American intermediaries and growers and seed companies willing, and to meet this demand. But our government itself is actually opposing it. And that's like a 7 million acre opportunity for American farmers to grow something with a premium with no GMOs in it. And our government's actively pushing against it. So it's just a key example. And there's something we could do at home that would help us here and probably help them there too.
So we actually grow enough Mexican corn, non-GMO corn, in this country at this point to meet that demand?
We don't, but we can. We grow enough right now to meet a portion of the demand, but there are the seed companies that supply the seed, the producers, elevators, transport companies are all ready to scale up over the next couple of years, which is would coincide with the timeline Mexico has laid out. So we have the potential and the willingness, is my point, on the part of, and in a more free, fair market situation, I feel our government would link us up with this opportunity as opposed to opposing it. So it's
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, so you see the difference here. See, I'm a little surprised by the inflexibility of people in the truth community to support Kennedy. I mean, most people are, but the people who aren't. And if your reason is, well, the left-right paradigm, which I talk about all the time, and that everybody who's given a microphone, which stuff I've said in the past, is given a microphone for a reason, that's reasonable assessment based in things we've seen in the past. But you have zero reason not to support Kennedy, right? What do you have to lose? Because he goes out and meets these people, and he's litigated these things in terms of environmental things, in terms of farming things, in terms of freedom of speech things, and he's doing that now, that all of us have wanted, right? All of us know there's a need for that. Those of you who are worried about not being able to have beef in the future when they try to, Agenda 31, all these beef farms out of existence. Those of you who are worried about freedom of speech and things like this, that the encroachment of, government being able to say, who gets to be platform and who doesn't. What we've had in abundance because of the internet, and now it's being constrained. All these issues that are pertinent to our lives, he's fighting against. And you could say he's controlled opposition. Maybe he is. But right now he doesn't appear to be so. And the way they would use him, if they're going to use him, is that he'll lose, right? And, or, the way they used, or what they did with Kennedy his father and his uncle, RFK and JFK, the original RFK and JFK, when they murdered them, it took the wind out of the sails of the hippie movement, the progressive hippie movement, which was positive at that time. It took the wind out of the sails of sort of anti-government, anti-business people. And they all got depressed. And there was farmers here talking about, there's one farmer who talks about how they pulled his insurance because he grew with an organic cover crop instead of the Monsanto, whatever it was, stuff, the GMO stuff. And so he couldn't get insured, so he lost his ability to get a line of credit, and he slowly went out of business. He won a lawsuit, but he had to sell the farm, and he lost money and time, and he got depressed and all these things. I mean, these stories are interesting. And they're things I know about as a person who homestead. Any of you guys who are interested in your food and food security and healthy food and all these things, non-GMO foods and all the rest of it, Kennedy's talking to these people. You know, Joe Biden and the rest of them, they talk to Monsanto and big industrial farmers who donate a lot of money to their campaigns, and then they legislate in favor of these companies. And Trump will do the same thing. He does do the same thing. Trump doesn't talk to organic farmers. Kennedy is on board with pretty much everything that I believe in. Like, he's fighting for these things. He's a champion of them. And so let's say he gets to be president and they demonize him like they do Trump, and he loses time and time again. He's under litigation, and they're trying to impeach him and doing all the things they did with Trump. I mean, they're already doing that with Kennedy. They ultimately murder him or whatever it is, right? Let's say, worst case scenario, that's what happens. And they just show all of us we own you. Like, this is, you thought this guy was going to change things. You thought you guys were going to win. You'll never win. Just, move to your Agenda 31 houses and shut your mouths, whatever. They take away the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. Let's say all these, worst case scenario. Well, they're going to do that anyway, right? So at least you have somebody who, has a puncher's chance of winning some of these things and affecting things positively. Again, whether he's a shill or not is inconsequential. He says the things that we agree with, and he has a reasonable plan in terms of changing the, who he puts in charge of the Food and Drug Administration and who he puts in charge of the CDC, all these things. He'll put, instead of someone like Fauci, he'll put somebody who, we agree with, right? And so, why not support that? Like, I don't think the system should be saved. I know it can't be saved or shouldn't be saved. That's my personal belief. But I'll still support him because it's just the right thing to do. Because he agrees with what we believe in, and he's a champion for those things. And at least we'll know, right? At least at the end of the day, we'll know. We'll get an up and down answer, and we'll know. Instead of just watching this slow erosion of the boiling of frog, we'll know. Like, he's exposing them. He's forcing them to, come out of the shadows and take positions like the First Amendment position. They're against the First Amendment. They're litigating against the First Amendment, saying they have the right to violate the First Amendment. That's one of the things they're doing. And then there's a number of other things that he's fighting them on with YouTube and censorship and all these other things. And then, to do with these farming issues and the rest of it, big business, big agribusiness, big pharma, CIA, CIA and NSA and FBI and all these things. He's going to go after these things. And if he loses, he loses. If they kill him, they kill him. Like, it's just, that's the way it goes, right? But at least, he gave it a shot and we supported him. Like, we supported somebody who was willing to do that. Like I said, I'm not a protester. I said I was never going to vote again. And, all these things. I don't believe in the system. I don't believe the system is a good system. I believe the system is, the longer it exists, the worse it is for us and, the future generations of people and the animal life here and plant life and all the rest of it. And so I'm not actively working to destroy the system because the system's destroying itself. And I believe that to be God's will. But there's an option here. There's an option for the American people. There's an option for you and me. There's an option for everybody in terms of a candidate we haven't seen the likes of ever. There's never been a candidate like this. He's better than his father and his uncle. He's more, organic as a person, right? He's, been through his own, personal struggles with drug addiction, which he doesn't lie about. And he had his own, finding God type of, experience or whatever it is. And he's fought the fight against some of the things that we are all against here, or at least we should be as truthers. And so, you support him because it's the right thing to do, not because of the outcome, not because of what's going to happen, not because he's going to win or any of these things, because I don't think that'll ever happen. But, I want to see it play out. And the truth will come out one way or another. He'll bring the truth to light. It's in terms of bringing the truth to light, whether people are willing to see it, whether people are willing to fight against the evil, that's, I doubt people will be. And we already know what sheeple are like. We already seen that with the hearing, because everyone who watched that hearing should say the Democrats are completely effed. The Democrats should have no support at all, because what the Democrats stand for now is everything that the liberals and the former Democrats were against. They've completely gone to the dark side, the neocon side, their big corporate money. These are the hippie generation Democrats who are now going in the opposite direction. They destroy whistleblowers. They're against freedom of speech. They're against all these things. They're restrictive. They're hostile. They're pro-war. They're destroying the country, right? They're running the country into the ground. And they're doing it in the opposite way of everything that they were supposed to believe in. And that was on full display at the court hearing. And, Democrats just can't see it. And if you hear Kennedy talk about any position, he's, aligned with us in the truth community more than anybody else. Things that we believe in about food, about freedom of speech, about, a whole host of things, right? About our civil liberties and constitutional rights and things like this, and about lifestyle and all the other things that go with it. I personally believe this is a failed experiment, and even if it wasn't, it's just time for the system to end. There needs to be something new. And it isn't going to come out of this system. The system can't be resurrected. This system has to die completely and give birth to something better. And everything we understand as human life and as life as Americans is going to evaporate and change into something else. Everything that we do and the way we wake up and go about our lives, all the things that we have, the technology, the privileges, all these things, is going to disappear completely at some time in the future. I mean, that's happened time and time again. Civilizations collapse, empires collapse, and it's just time. And, I don't think people make the right decision, but they need to be given the option, right? And Kennedy's, that guy. He's the guy that represents this option. At least, even if everything goes, in a tits up direction, like everything goes south, right? And, it's worst case scenario, then we'll know. Then everyone will be blackpilled. Everyone will see, even, certainly sheeple will get to see, but certainly us in the truth community. And then we can prepare for the pockets of the future that I've talked about so much, creating communities and resources and living the way people are going to have to live in the future in a post-apocalyptic situation. So it's a no-lose situation. The truth will emerge. And it's already starting to. It's already happened. It's happened a lot sooner than I thought. Democrats are openly rigging the election against Kennedy. They're censoring and going against the First Amendment. And this is only, we're still in 2023. We haven't even hit primary season yet. They're already, doing horrible things in all this stuff, and the Trump indictment, all these things that are happening. And so they're full blown going to the dark side, embracing the dark side. And everyone should be able to see it. If they can't, they can't, but at least it's there to be seen. At least the truth is there. It's not hidden. They're not, hiding themselves behind something. I mean, they're going to lie and they're going to pretend. They're going to put out some sort of an illusionary idea that they're the heroes and they're the good guys, but they're clearly not. But in some way they are, because they're taking down a system that is hurting all of us. And that's ultimately a good thing. And so, this is the way this is playing out. This is the divine drama. And Kennedy is the central figure on the side that we believe in. And that has to, there has to be conflict, there has to be a battle, there's going to be winners and losers, and then we'll know. And then there'll be clarity of what's going to happen. And so that's, why we should support him. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount. I'll definitely point from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.